Legal unit wethu uBA Obejane sihamba nosesi wethu lapha uRA Masama.
We request that the House remain standing as we observe a moment of silence for the victims of the floods that we have seen ravaging the country, in particular KZN, Sitsi Tutu, Yonge Imindeni, Rasi Manesko Ben Makanda. Siyabonga, ahlala phansi.
Ngumngomane, ngumshika, ngumdumezulu, ngithanda abantu, umveje, umshika wemoya. Wena wakangomane waseyisayini, umfuyi wematshe adela izinkomo. Isithukuthele sathukuthela sothutha kanye nonina belakithi kaZulu. Senisa umzukulu uHlozini othuka wabeka isango yakhe. Ngisho yena umhlano obanzi obelethe indlu letholelayo, umhlano obanzi owabelethe isizwe kanti nezinkinga zazo. Ugodu bazibili ezifo kanye nesakhe. Ngisho yena wakamshika, yena wakasembatha kuhlalo, bakungembathwa umuntu kaZulu, bakuvathwa. Ngisho yena kaHoyi owabosha ekhaya, nabo bebalinde inkosi yakhe. Ibela isizwe bese silinde inkosi yakhe, bese siboshwe ekhaya. Wena kulitshelele imbathuko lahle lathi yaqala ukubona ithelevishini. Ngisho yena kamshika uHoyi unhlangule uhlanguleza. Ngisho yena umqabula kade ngomane ushika wasikhule sizalwa amakhosana
Wow, siyabonga imbongi. Hey, ndunankulu. Sinendlunkulu lana yakwaZulu. Isilalele. Mhlawumbe sesitontshile ngala sathi stava ngeliswati. Yaw siyabonga kakhulu. Ndunankulu wesifundza seMpumalanga. Make RM Mtsweni Tsipane. Asathi somlomo wesishaya mthetho waneMpumalanga mhlambe ngoba vele sisendlini yakhe siyamvusela naye la khona sekela sihlalo wendlu yabaholi benzabuko ezweni lonke Hoshi TM Siyatlulo sekela sihlalo wendlu yabaholi benzabuko esifundzeni seMpumalanga inkosi MC Mahlangu emalunga onke esigungu esiphakeme executive endlini yabaholi benzabuko ABC Shiba weCocta and all MECs labakhona la nema HODs simbonile ngubane chairpersons and deputies from the different provinces sibonile uHampa Khulu Hoshimabe kuna deputy futhi uNdlunkulu okaZulu Natal inkosi Zulu ungudeputy khona le bosodolopha labakhona lapha in particular Mage Sidel Sodolopo Hlanzeni municipality aphinda bengisal chairperson eSalga siyakuvusela make kuningi lefuna sikukhulume uma ku ngale basesiwelile sithi siyeta eHlanzeni sitokhulumisana namhlonishwa Director General of Lawala Mpumalanga nine baka Mampuru abosihlalo nabosekela sihlalo bama local houses all the members of Mpumalanga House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders onke amalunga siyanhlonipha kakhulu makhosami amakhosi onke akhona la lasivakashele siyeva ukuthi sina subs commissioner siphinze sibe na commissioner futhi ku CGE siphinze sibe na MEC siyaxolisa MEC wethu welitiko sports arts and culture Mage BT Shongwe siyabonga kakhulu MEC ukuthi ube khona la siphinze sibingelele tonke idivakashi lecravile angeke ngicede nonke emakhosikazi siyavusela onke awunihlonipha kakhulu bomake lokuthi ngalokuthi nifike la our foot soldiers makhansela netindvuna kuma TCs la khona la imedia in our midst labasijoinile via a hybrid virtual platform sina chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders usijoine ku virtual sina president ya Contralesa nalamanye be Contralesa labakhona la we acknowledge them sibahalalisele siphinde sihalalisele futhi nathi siyimpumalanga ukuthi uphinze wa re-electwa Khoshi Mkwena ukuthi abe president ye Contralesa sibafisela lokuhle Makosami Premier, the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders takes this opportunity to greet you and welcome you to our sitting where we request the Premier to address Amakosi in terms of rule number 10 of the House of Traditional Leaders. As usually, this majestic occasion can never happen without being embraced by our Premier. So without further ado, please help me welcome the Premier of the Provincial Province, Mage RM20, to come and address the House of Traditional Leaders. Can we stand up and then acknowledge her coming in?
Good morning.
Siyathokoza ukhosi asukumeli abantwana babo ngumntwana wamakhosi mina manje ke abondaba ezitha abangisukumeli mina ngiyazicelela Chairperson of the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders Inkosi SG Ngumane, Your Majesties Ingwenyama Makhosoke Wesibili and Ingwenyama Mapogo Wesithathu in absentia, Chairperson of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders Inkosikazi Nomandla Mhlawuli, who has joined in hybrid, the Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders Khoshi Thabo Seatlholo, the President of the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Khoshi Mokoena, the Deputy Chairperson of the Provincial House, Inkosi SC Mahlangu, the MEC for Kokta, Umage Ubusi Shiba, and other members of the Executive Council present, members of the Provincial Legislature in our midst, the executive members of the provincial house and chairpersons of the local houses, our esteemed traditional leaders, Amakosi, Mahoshi, Abondlunkulu, and Izinduna ezikhona ngaphakathi kwendawo, our Director General of the Mpumalanga Provincial Government, Ubaba Uma Mpuru, the senior management of the Department of COGTA, led by the HOD, Ubaba Ungubani, compatriots and fellow citizens, Sanbonani, Dumelang, Lochan. Chairperson, we are still struggling to come to terms with the passing on of Amakosi, who served this house and their communities with distinction. When we gathered to open the Mpumalanga House of Traditional Leaders, we were blissfully unaware that our journey with them was nearing its conclusion. As we gather today to mark the annual opening of the Mpumalanga House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, we are reminded of their indomitable legacies. Indeed, without Inkosi S.E. Mahlangu of the Nzunza Mabusa Traditional Council, Inkosi K.J. Malaza of the Mandla Makulu Traditional Council, Hosi M.L. Nkuna of the Hoshani Traditional Council, we are poor. We are convinced that through their servitude, they left more than enough to last us for a long time. In their honor, I request that the House observes a moment of silence in their honor. Singagoba amakhanda. Kwangathi umoya wabo ungalala ngokuthula. Siyathokoza. Chairperson, we are gradually returning to life as we knew it, following the trail of devastation brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Mpumalanga province, like the rest of the country, was not spared of the harrowing experience of people losing their lives and livelihoods. Hope is what was left in us, and that hope is what has driven us to where we are right now. The recent announcement by the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, which included the upliftment of the COVID-19 restrictions and heralded the end of the national state of disaster declared in 2020, signaled the end of the road we have traveled thus far together in the fight against the pandemic. The announcement proved that the steps undertaken by government, including cancellation of cultural ceremonies, the temporary suspension of the Ingoma practice, and the strict monitoring of adherence to COVID-19 protocols for burials and other traditional activities were not in vain. Through working with government, the pivotal role played by the institution of traditional leadership spared the province from the full brutality and destruction of humanity by the pandemic. We will forever be grateful to you, Bondabezitha, for the sterling work in uniting our communities against the enemy that was COVID-19. Lest we forget, the pandemic is still prevalent, and therefore we must never let our guards down. We depend on you in the programs of encouraging our communities to vaccinate and to continue with adherence to the safety protocols. Sizoyinqoba lengogwana le COVID-19 ngokubambisana. The rates of infections is under constant microscopic monitoring, and we have seen gradual progression towards managing and living with COVID-19. We have also resumed the practice of Ingoma under strict medical conditions. Through my participation in the Presidential Coordinating Council, I am certain that we will be able to resume our traditional ceremonies such as Ummemo by the end of this month. Chairperson, it is my singular honor to inform the August House about the recognition of the following senior traditional leaders recently. They are Koshi S. Chilwane of the Mulitele Traditional Council, Ikosi T. Mabena of the Manalambonga Traditional Council, Inkosi Arnkosi of the Ebudzini Traditional Council, and lastly, Inkosi S. Mnisi of the Mancholo Traditional Council. Their recognition is in terms of the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act 3 of 2019, following a submission made by the royal families in accordance with the customary law of succession. In the weeks ahead, we will be recognizing more traditional leaders in accordance with the spirit, purport, and objective of Section 211 and 212 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. I must emphasize, though, Chairperson, that government does not appoint Amakosi, as this is a privilege reserved for the inner royal house. The certificate of recognition that we issue should not be misconstrued as the authority to appoint, but as an avenue through which the decision of the inner royal house is given effect. As such, we commit ourselves to continue to work with all Amakosi designated that status by inner royal families across our province. Chairperson, following our extensive deliberations with both the chairperson and the deputy chairperson on how we may augment our support to the traditional leaders, I have decided that from the 2023-2024 financial year, we will increase our support for Ingwenyamas from 400,000 to 1 million per annum. This then translates into an increase of about 150%. As part of our support for senior traditional leaders, we will also increase the administrative grant from 300,000 to 350,000 per annum. I am particularly elated that the current executive of the House has taken an initiative to hold discussions with our Honorable Speaker of the Provincial Legislature, Madam Makhosazane Masilela, in an effort to find ways to work closely as oversight bodies. I have been informed that the Speaker of Provincial Legislature welcomed the discussion and would seek to have joint programs in strengthening oversight and accountability of our sector departments with the Provincial House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders. The provincial government welcomes all efforts that seeks to improve on our delivery of services, irrespective of what sector is involved, and that we would provide all support required to make this noble initiative a success. COGTA must pave a way for this program to take shape and to provide resources necessary to enable proper functionality to this end. We will be willing to provide such necessary training and development programs to equip the House to deal with these aspects effectively. Chairperson, as we mark the last stretch of the last mile of the current term of the executive of both the provincial and local houses of traditional and Khoisan leaders in Mpumalanga, it will be remiss of me to not express my gratitude to the esteemed members of the Mpumalanga House of Traditional Leaders. We were awestruck by your dedication and commitment to serve the community with such distinction and integrity. Your advice on cultural matters and development for areas within the jurisdiction of traditional leadership has enriched us. It is during your tenure that we fought together the pandemic and saved lives, as I have indicated earlier. Words will never be enough to thank you for your selfless and exemplary leadership. As you prepare to hand over the baton to the new leadership, I am certain that a roadmap has been developed for a seamless handover of the new executive from the 1st of June 2022. In preparation for the election of the new executive, we have already conducted workshops in all 3 districts to equip local houses in anticipation of the imminent elections. We must always remember that the executive of the Mpumalanga House of Traditional Leaders carry the hopes and dreams of our communities in rural areas, especially during this era, characterized by unfavorable socio-economic conditions. We remain resolute in our commitment to work with Bondabezita, and this will be our approach in the interaction with the executive. Chairperson, in this current financial year, the provincial government through COGTA shall renovate 8 critical traditional council offices, whilst 12 new offices will be constructed. In addition, 25 offices shall be attended to in the outer years for the next 3 years. This will be amongst the many projects that will mark our support and strategic collaboration with the institution of traditional leadership. Our supportive measures recognize the deep-seated challenges that are sophisticated, which require advanced methods of technology to resolve. When COGTA provided tools of trade in a form of desktop computers and printers in the previous financial year, it was responding to these sophisticated challenges. All traditional councils, including the offices of the 2 Izingwenyama, were provided with this ICT support. This ICT infrastructure enhances the ability of traditional council offices to provide services in the most rural of surroundings. Chairperson, the establishment of the Provincial Initiation Coordinating Committee is a major decisive step we have undertaken as Mpumalanga Province to prevent facilities during the practice of Ingoma. The committee will perform its duties in compliance as per the requirements of the Customary Initiation Act number 2 of 2021. I am happy to announce and congratulate Inkosi M.R. Mbuyane for his election as the chairperson, and Koshihadi A.S. Muhlala, who has been elected as the deputy chairperson of the PICC. The committee will be seized with the oversight and monitoring responsibilities, including all relevant structures that practices Ingoma. There will be awareness campaigns and training workshops to traditional and Khoisan structures, leadership, and government officials in accordance with Section 15 of the Customary Initiation Act number 2 of 2021. Over and above, they will collaborate with local structures established within the districts where Ingoma is practiced, especially the Ingoma Administrative Task Team in the Nkangala district. In consultation with all traditional and Khoisan leadership, the PICC will create a database for all legal initiation schools in the Mpumalanga province. These efforts will help cap fatalities during the initiation period. Sadly, we are informed about the 8 fatalities recorded thus far. The PICC and the task team established to monitor the proceedings during Ingoma are busy on the ground to tighten monitoring for compliance. COGTA is putting together an action plan in collaboration with the Department of Health to allocate more resources to cap any potential escalation of Ingoma fatalities. We urge on all Ingoma initiation schools to work with government in ensuring safe passage of our Ingoma initiatives. One life lost is one too many that we cannot afford. Chairperson, I also wish to congratulate one of our own, Ikosi VW Mahlangu, who has been elected chairperson of the National Initiation Oversight Committee. His election puts Mpumalanga front and center of national initiatives aimed at reducing and ultimately preventing Ingoma-related fatalities. Chairperson, one of the major tasks we will be paying attention to during this period under review is the recognition of traditional councils. Section 63, subsection 4 of the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act states that all tribal authorities and traditional council must be reconstituted within 2 years from the commencement of the Act. We are required, therefore, to conclude this mammoth task by the 31st of March 2023, in accordance with the provisions of Section 16, subsection 2 and subsection 5 of the Act. This legislation calls for the selection and election of members of respective communities to serve in the traditional councils. For a free and fair process, a neutral body must be appointed to steer the election process. Following consultation with all stakeholders, a mechanism for maintaining peace and stability in traditional communities, a section in the new legislation of establishing investigative committees has been incorporated. This will help to timeously resolve disagreements over culture and customs as espoused in the Constitution. Insofar as participation of Amakhosi in our municipal affairs, Chairperson, our country has entered a new developmental phase embedded on the one plan at the level of the district through the district development model, introduced by His Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa in 2019. The DDM creates an opportunity of collaboration with traditional leaders and all sectors of the society for the successful delivery of services to our people. Bondabezita, I am encouraged by your participation in the DDM Council meetings. Your voice brings the perspective of the authority of the section of our society with an intimate understanding of the rural landscape and assists us in determining viable strategies to follow to eradicate bottlenecks and expedite the delivery of services. Bondabenzita, we envisage good results in the business ventures that will be established in your areas. The Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act 3 of 2019 now protects traditional communities from such ventures. It makes it mandatory for traditional councils to enter into written partnerships or agreements that benefit the community. The recent signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Mpumalanga House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders and the Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency with the goal of establishing and maintaining areas of collaboration between the two parties demonstrates that we are getting closer to where we want to be. The MOU is in line with the entities' respective legislative mandates, particularly in the fields of finance, tourism, and nature conservation management. Both parties acknowledge that the tourism industry has the potential to drive significant economic growth and development in the province, as well as increase participation in the tourism and nature conservation sectors of previously disadvantaged individuals and communities. Insofar as the land invasion of traditional communities, Chairperson, the land invasion remains a major impasse towards the full implementation of the agrarian revolution. It perpetuates poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Once again, I urge you, as our leaders, to work closely with municipalities on land administration. We need to administer it in a manner that our future generations will have both space for settlement and development. Those who need land, be it for residential purposes, for business, or any other proper use, must apply and follow due processes to be allocated. In this way, our communities in rural areas will have access to land for the improvement of their lives. The net is closing against those who illegally occupy vacant land. Their days of acting with impunity with those who allocate land through unscrupulous means, taking bribes, are numbered. We will continue to work with law enforcement agencies to pursue the perpetrators and bring an end to illegal land invasion. Chairperson, as you are aware, COGTA has developed a policy for the emakhosikati structure, which provides clear directions of functionality. This policy could not have come at the right time. As we fight the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide, the emakhosikati structure is on the forefront of the fight, especially in rural areas. Women and children in such areas are the hardest hit by GBVF. The policy guides the structure on how to deal with this scourge, which endangers the lives of women and children. The emakhosikati structure is constantly raising awareness about gender-based violence and femicide. Recently, the structure held an awareness campaign at Msogwaba Traditional Council in collaboration with the Commission of Gender Equality in Ehlanzeni district to intensify men's formation in the community to advance the fight. Poverty alleviation in rural areas features prominently on the agenda of the structure. We note with appreciation the intervention measures by the structure to combat poverty during the COVID-19 pandemic. Through financial support from the Solidarity Fund, the structure distributed food vouchers to 3,000 vulnerable groups in the traditional communities within the 3 districts. Chairperson, as part of ensuring effective intergovernmental relations in accordance with the purpose of the district development model, our province will be hosting the Presidential Imbizo on the 20th of May 2022 in Carolina, Chief Albert Luthuli Municipality. As leadership and authority of our society, I wish to use this platform to extend an invitation to Abondabezita across the province to attend the Imbizo, which will be addressed by the President Ramaphosa at the Silobela Stadium. The President will be interacting with the citizens of our province on service delivery issues, and your voice should be heard on the day of the occasion. Chairperson, as I conclude, let me remind the House that your service to the community will never be comfortable. It is the ultimate price to pay as a leader. However, as you toil hard to make their aspirations a reality, it is important to understand that you are doing yourself a priceless service. Nikolai Ostrovsky, writing title Man's Dearest Position in Life, makes this illustration. He states the following, and I quote, open quote, it is to him but once, and he must live it so as to feel no torturing regrets for wasted years, never know the burning shame of a mean and petty past. So live that, dying he might say, all my strength were given to the finest cause in all the world, close quote. Siyathokoza.
Siyathokozana nemambala Ndunankulu. We heard you not well last week. Today we got it from your good self. Kusho kona ukuthi uhloniphe emakhosi ngokuthi ufike lana. Uthi hluphe utobavusela Ndunankulu sibonga kakhulu. Thank you for your support, especially with respect to the administration grant for Izingonyama Zethu and the TCs. We are aware that, as you told us, Ndunankulu, that your room for improvement in terms of budget is almost non-existent. There is no money, sibonile i-COVID isendeni, but sibonga nje lokuphosile Ndunankulu ukuthi kube ne-improvement esisebentela lesive semakhosi. Yes, and Ndunankulu, you have put your head on the block because you acknowledge and respect the community, the rural communities out there. The TC offices are a pride of rural communities. It is their beloved structures. So siyabonga kakhulu lokuthi ukhonela ukuthi uthole nje lawo masent ukuthi ku renovate kuphinde kwakhiwe ema-office lamasha la angekho khona emakhosini. Indeed, Ndunankulu, this is our last opening of the house in this 5-year term. We express our warmest gratitude for your unwavering support. We enjoyed working with your cabinet, and we believe that this will never end, and it will actually improve even more in our next term of the house. Sicela indlu ishayele premier for inkulumo yakhe. We request, as we conclude, we request the company of our distinguished guests as we all head towards our luncheon program, which will be held at the Nutting House Lodge. So we request our officials to help direct our guests to the facility. Sibonga kakhulu makhosami nonke. Siyayivala namuhla vele i-term opening sicabanga ukuthi sitabane kuhlaliseka bonda bezitha, and we sibuke ukuthi simisa njani as we go for our next leadership. Kube nokuthula, kube nesizotha emakhosini. Siyabonga kakhulu. The sitting will adjourn now. Siyabonga.
wena wetshele imbathi ngubo lahlekwa inyoni yathi ngiyaqala ukubona ijele embathi sibone kwamshika emaphazilithi akwazi ukukhulula inyamazane ejele eTenbos ikhala kithi la kanti ikhala kithi la seTenbos belilinde ubukhosi balo sabi belilinde ubukhosi balo eTenbos belilinde ubukhosi balo kaMthulu ngomani mshini wena wasipha lesikhulisa
Vai, vai, vai,